Hello. Welcome. Hannah, I feel like we've been talking all day.
Yeah. But it just seems longer because it was about wrestling the entire time. That dilates time by a considerable
Yeah. So what I've decided to start doing, and I don't know if I'm consistent with it, but when it comes to starting a new episode of Evolving with Corey Castle, EWCK for short, what I've decided to start doing is I'm not going to go hey, this person's this and welcome this person. I'm like, they can read on the description who it is and they can see in the name of the episode that that's who it is. So I just want to say before anything else, thanks for doing this. Welcome.
Yeah.
And
thank you for having me.
How much I appreciate that you've given me the currency of your effort and your time, and also the fact that you decided to sit in on an episode of the wrestling podcast. So this is just a flow over from that for anybody who's this is you coming into it. This is the overflow from our episode that we just did of Wrestle Rock. Hannah Harkness, welcome.
Thank you so much.
So now I wanted to understand. I mean, definitely I'm not going to jump into this is what every episode of any podcast is ever like when they go, so how'd you start? Tell me your origin stories. That's not really how I like to operate, but we crossed paths at some point, and would like to see where in your journey you were at that point when we crossed paths.
We did, because I remember it was the twilight years of the best comedy open mic that has ever existed. Comedy is Liberty. But you did go up during the Trocadero, the Trocadero era of that mic lasted for about 2.5 years. Before that, it was approximately 5 years at Bourbon and Branch, and before that, it was Liberty's. So yeah, you met me at the tail end of a fucking era. That was just one of the wildest things I've ever done with 8 years of my life. New Jack used to do stand up on year 1. Mm-hmm. He'd just show up to this weird open mic we had in Northern Liberties and just do bits. It's just, and it never stopped being that weird. So good. I'm really glad that you got to be there for the end of that whole fucking journey, because it's very special to me.
That's cool. I don't remember particularly liking my stuff that I was doing at that time, but I mean, I think I did it twice. Mm-hmm. So the first time I thought I was all right, but the second time when I went back, I had hit somebody's pen right before I got on stage, and I was like, yeah, maybe never the best idea. I think that night at the Trocadero was when I learned, don't do anything before you do comedy. Stay
yeah. Well,
sober.
Comedy is Liberty is a learning mic. I mean, right. I'm not sure if you noticed, but it wasn't necessarily where the cool kids hung out. It was where you'd get some random freak from Allentown rolling in and pretending to hang himself with the mic cord. It's where I had a guy bring an entire analog clock on a leash like it was a pet and drag it all the way up the steps and asked us if we thought time was real. We had a guy just go up and for 5 minutes do a whole diatribe about fucking cheesesteaks and how to select a good one to fuck.
You
and that guy was 55.
Russell had a whole gimmick.
Yeah.
When he did the whole thing when he's like, you've got an ugly dick. You've got an ugly dick. You've got an ugly dick. He fell during that. We got injured doing that bit at our mic once. Was that you were there for that? I was there for that when he fell through the table.
God.
Yeah.
Oh my God. We've had so many people get injured at Comedy and Delivery. It's so stupid. I had the most special thing in the world and now it's gone and it bothers me, and I'm not going to host a mic in New York because it's not even going to be close to the same. It's just it happened and then it ended, and it was just so beautiful and weird and fucked up.
The few mics that I've done in New York, I haven't done a ton, but I've done a good amount, and it's like there's some magic missing that there seemed to be in Philly that doesn't seem to be in New York. It's like New York is like everybody's trying to do something, and it seems like their intention sort of gets in the way of the like being funny part. Like,
can I tell you what a major difference is between the two scenes that a lot of people don't think about? Philly doesn't have rich people doing stand-up. Philly does not have rich people doing stand-up. New York, shitloads of rich people doing stand-up, and it makes things very different. You know, like Philly has a lot of just legitimately demoralized people that have just been super humbled by life. So there's a lot of bullshit that just isn't there, and there's also a lot less like disconnect. Like the magic is because we're all like huddled in fucking Raven Lounge having a fucking traumatizing time just because we're in Raven Lounge, and like we're just kind of
it's 1 a.m. on a Thursday. I got work tomorrow.
Yeah, nobody knows why you're there, but you just keep going, and you're just like soaking that in. But you know, and that definitely happens in New York, but it's just a completely different like. And it's also the other thing with Philly is that if you want to do mics in Philly, you got to commit to seeing these people like every fucking day, potentially a couple of times a day, and hearing all of their material. In New York, you could do open mics in a different part of town, not see any of these people for weeks. You could fuck somebody in Hell's Kitchen and do mics in Brooklyn for the rest of your life and never fucking see them. Philly, no, you're trapped. You're locked in. Anything you said in Philly Comedy Network will come back and hurt you and just smoking outside later. Every single day. No, it's a fucking cage. And only the strong survive. And it forces you to write because people are sick of your shit in like 3 weeks.
Because they've seen it every day.
In New York, in New York, you can get away with holding the same 5 minutes for years because you're just not in the same places that much.
No one else is seeing your shit.
People are setting apart. No, Philly, it's not even that they're seeing your shit. They're not going to like you if you keep doing that. They're going to start talking shit. You're going to be able to hear it. You know, like
what I like about it is seeing the evolution of somebody's skills.
Yes.
Seeing the evolution of somebody's art, somebody's craft. The craft of this, like, inception of the concept, and then to see where it expands on and where the tags get in, and like seeing the finish.
It's cool.
Yeah, for
sure. Yeah, and you get to be there from start to finish if you're always doing stand up with the same people. Like there are a lot of people that started at Comedy's Liberty because they could get on the list. And it doesn't mean that we had good shows. Like there was a few Comedy's Liberty that were like normal, like fucking painful shit. But we most of the time had good people show up, but it was just good people that weren't playing the politicking game and couldn't get up on the fucking list. Like they couldn't get put up before 1 a.m. because people don't know who they are. But or they're just like, just because they're from another part of Pennsylvania. Like people would drive in from PA and Jersey to do Comedy's Liberty a lot.
Yeah, I for sure disliked waiting to get on till after midnight, and I'd be like, I want to be supportive of all these other people, and I just want the people running this to be supportive of me. So especially because you have to see them every fucking day. So things that even seem like a little slight, like if you're just in a bad mood and you feel like this guy hasn't been putting you on the list for however many weeks, eventually you're gonna say something about it because you can't fucking stop seeing it. You have to see it every day. Don't put you on the list at all.
Or they just don't. Yeah, exactly.
And you just go home
feel like
deflated.
You just like waste a whole night, and then you have to get on fucking SEPTA if you don't have a car. Like,
well, then you had to pay for gas and parking if you didn't get on SEPTA.
Yeah. Oh god, yeah, gas and parking on Sansom Street. Fuck that. Like both Braven and Fergie's, they seem to just be like anti-parking. Like you just you walk up this shitty alley, or you don't get your 5 minutes, bitch. Like.
Gotta get that stage time in, bro.
Was Fergie's ever not under construction? I feel like I've maybe been to Fergie's, but there was like 1-2 years, maybe when it was still Tight 6, which would have predated you by a lot.
I think I was only there like twice, but I mean,
Tight 6 was the one that Aaron Nevins used to run before he started Good. Like that's how old Tight 6 was, but Fergie's has been Sundays for a really long time.
I think Chris Hayes, I think he invited me to one.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know who that? Do you know who that guy is?
Yeah, I know who Chris Hayes is.
Okay,
Yeah.
I think I got invited to go
I haven't
from
seen
him
him in a super
once
long
or twice.
time.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I just still follow him on Instagram. He posts funny stuff. He posts funny stuff on Instagram. I wish I could plug his Instagram, but whatever. Look it up.
yeah, look it up, Chris Hayes.
You
Really.
do the work. Don't make me keep doing it.
Oh, I remember Chris Hayes from There's all these fucking insane mics that would have predated you. Like Irish Times was a bar that got hit for tax evasion, so like it no longer exists. But that mic was like the Coliseum of hack comedy. It had this like weird. Like,
I'm familiar with it.
yeah. Oh, you remember?
I'm not. I don't think I've ever been there. I mean, I started doing open mics in 2008.
Oh, okay. So, all right. Yeah.
2007, 2008. So I got into like the Raven when the Raven Lounge first started, like
okay.
with Foley and Cotton.
See, I'm fucking out of it. It was just because the breakup time I was doing open mics. I never remembered seeing you until you were doing my mic, but maybe it's because I have an object permanency problem.
Well, also you were back and forth in New York.
True. Yeah.
So I mean, you came in from New York to do Comedy's Liberty. So
yeah, well, at the end of it, I did, but before that, I was in Philly like 10 years. But I was also like doing a lot of shit in the burlesque scene and opening for Rocky Horror, doing a lot of shit just outside normal comedy spheres too. So
like with like Fenris, those kind of burlesque.
I did those. Yeah, I did those. I did the Illuminati shows. Fenris was one of the people who booked me and Steve Miller's 9/11 Truther Elvis and Dolly Parton act, which is. Fenris booked it, Illuminati booked it, and then Black Friday Comedy Marathon has banned us. They no longer.
Why did they ban you?
Because Steve told them that it was going to have like a full band and shit when he didn't even send them any tech at all. So he was just playing the backing karaoke tracks on his cell phone. It was me and him doing nothing but Elvis and Dolly Parton parody songs about 9/11 conspiracy theories.
That'll get you banned pretty quick.
And they gave us a 9:00 spot on Saturday during Black Friday Comedy Marathon, and it's just me and Steve dressed as Dolly Parton singing 9/11 conspiracy, and it was for like 15 minutes, and I think that the lore behind the fallout from that's all over the place. I think that, like, what I've heard is that Steve is banned and not me because I was just in it. And that, like, the person I heard somewhere, I don't know if this is true, I heard somewhere that the person that let it go on that long without giving us the improv blackout got fired. I don't know if that's true.
Sounds like it tracks. I mean,
it was the most aggressively split audience I've ever seen. Fogletta was there, and she sounded like she was gonna die. She was laughing so hard.
I've told the story on here before, but I had a mic around here that I was hosting. It was in Levittown.
Yeah.
And Fenris came and did the mic, and he was playing his ukulele, and some drunk girl came up on stage, went up through his cargo shorts, and cut his underwear with scissors and pulled them out. Like, he didn't know her.
Wow.
He didn't know her, but
I love me some outside PA gigs, honestly. I think about going back to just do some fucking bullshit in Lancaster and get a good story in Lancaster.
I'm doing Chris Freed's mic in like 2 weeks in Allentown. I've never done comedy in Allentown before.
Man, every single person that came to Comedy's Liberty from Allentown was a fucking shit show, and it was part of the ambiance. Like, that's why I loved Comedy is Liberty. There was this one dude that came down that looked like John Davis and just did this bit where he was like I reference this already, pretending to hang himself with a mic cord. And I know somebody who's friends with John Davis, so I took a picture and I was like, I texted him. I'm like, yo, can you tell John to pick up his son? He looks like he's about to kill himself. Like, yeah, no, we got like Allentown people. We occasionally get Allentown comics and like Kensington comics that were like clearly nodding out at the mic and shit. And it's just like it's fucking wild. Like,
I think what's cool about us, you and I, is that we both stay on the very niche fringe of like being pro wrestling fans and being comedy fans. So like being a nerd for those things are not something you run into every day. Like I don't go to my job and see other people who are big wrestling fans or big comedy fans or
No.
Even people. Most people don't even know what podcasts are.
Yeah. No, it's wild, and it is wild how important people think they are within each subculture. Even though, now that I'm bouncing back and forth between indie wrestling and stand-up comedy, it's like stand-up comedy. There's some people like, oh, you don't want to piss him off; he's so important, and then you go to wrestling and nobody knows who that person is, but there's some other guy that's also a problem that you're supposed to be afraid of, and it's just like this is all made this shit up. This is important. Like normal people on the street know three stand-up comics.
I don't have people in wrestling that I've ever been told that I have to be afraid of, but maybe that's because I'm in the ring. Maybe because I've spent my life.
A man.
Well, or that. Yeah. Yeah. Well. Let me recognize my privilege there. I do acknowledge that. But I do want to maybe be I want to be a little proud here for a second and say like my body of work that I've put my life in this business, in the ring, taking bumps and risking my life and sacrificing my social life for 20 years has something to do with the fact that like people respect me and I don't have to be afraid of people.
That's awesome.
So that, I mean, while I very much acknowledge what you said, that makes total sense. I want to definitely say that me as a performer, me as Corey Castle, the name there carries some weight in the wrestling business. So, also,
I carry weight in shit posting on wrestling Twitter. Every fucking indie show that I've live tweeted is trended nationally, and there's only a certain amount of time before I stop acting like that's an accident. I am the best at what I do, even though it's incredibly fucking stupid.
Once again, it goes back to how very specific what it is you're doing is, and how don't minimalize it. Absolutely take the credit. You deserve it. It's so you found a you deserve it.
I deserve it.
Yeah. Just
alone in my room with a beer.
Take it as the compliment that it is.
I need to. Yeah, I spent that. You know what I was just saying on Casey James Salengo's podcast. I was like, I would say the main difference between stand-up and wrestling is that in wrestling you at least pretend to have self-confidence. A lot more wrestlers have self-confidence than comedians. By comedy, people want you to go up there and fucking hang yourself. That's what Casey said. It's like, and that's the thing.
Well, I think that the major difference, and I think, do you know Casey Koflick?
Yeah. He used to do my mic too. Yeah.
So, I think we've talked before about how it's like the consequences are so different. I'm not as nervous about this because like I've had to go out and take my clothes off in front of a bunch of people and get hit if I screw something, like get hit harder if I screw something up, or get hit with a chair if I screw something up, or like when I first started, it was one of the Cage of Death shows, not the match, but it was like the opening match on the show, and it was they did a Mavican Idol. It was 2 rings. Was it Cage of Death 5? No, Cage of Death. I don't remember which one it was, but Zandy came up to me and was like, hey, if you go out there and you fuck anything up, the Hey Club's music's going to hit and they're going to come kill you. And I was like, oh, no pressure. No pressure.
No pressure at all. No pressure at all.
I was like, well, all right. So
that's kind of how I feel like Philly comedy versus comedy virtually anywhere else is such a hostile situation. Like I've been in so many, when I talk to people who started comedy in the Midwest and I just start telling them stories about like how people get fights in the audience in Philly and get dragged out and shit, and they're just like, because New York, you're not just talking to New York people, you're talking to everybody that moved from everywhere the fuck else.
Or
so,
just visiting.
We're just visiting, yeah. And it's just like you realize the further Philadelphia fades into the rear view, the more it looks like some fucked up grindhouse movie. Like, you don't realize, because you think it's getting softer. Like, if somebody's been there in real life, you think it's getting softer, but then you go outside of it and you're like, oh no, this is still fucked up. Holy shit. Like,
I think the survivalist nature of like Philly people, like not just like the performers in Philly, but like anybody who's like, I think I had a friend of mine who worked FEMA during Hurricane Katrina, and somebody was like, "It's really dangerous here. Like, there's a lot of bad stuff going on here on the streets." And the guy was like, "Where are you from?" And he said, "Philly." And he was like, "Oh, never mind. Don't worry about it. You're good."
I had a friend say that when she was looking for an apartment somewhere here. She was talking to a realtor, and they're just like, well, you might want to check out like Greenpoint, Williamsburg or something. And she goes, I'm from Philly. And they go, oh, never mind. Like, here, you can move to this, that, the other place. Like, you'll be fine.
Right. So what, I saw you said something. You were AWOL comedian. Have you not done any comedy since?
I haven't done stand up since the pandemic started. No, I wandered off. It's because the movie thing happened, and then it's like this other project landed in my lap. But it was also just like I was already the last stand up show I did. It was in February, and it was a wrestling themed comedy show. It was fucking Malcolm Bivens was on it. He was doing stand up on it. And so was Randy Orton's brother Nathan, which if you haven't watched his stand, that shit's fucking amazing. Have you ever seen him around? Or he does a lot of material about being Randy Orton's skinny brother that does stand up. And that's all you need to hear.
Well, I mean, that's a very like large shadow to be.
Oh yeah. No, he told this when he did that gig. He told this story about like when Brock Lesnar was at the house, and his mom made Brock Lesnar this like cartoon stack of pancakes, and he got like one pancake, and he just like like. But yeah, I'm getting away from shit. But it was like people that were comedians that were wrestling fans, or other. There was like 3 people from WrestleMania on it, and I was doing a whole bunch of shit about how I was probably quitting comedy for wrestling, and then the pandemic hit, and I ended up only having wrestling related shit to do in addition to having the same like weird nervous breakdown everybody else is having. But were it not for the pandemic, we wouldn't be making the Brooklyn Battle comedy movie. So like.
Well, I think I've always wanted to do comedy that had to do with wrestling, but I feel like I apply this to wrestling. I apply this to my matches. I go, a good amount of the people who are here to watch this have never seen live wrestling before. A good amount of the people that are here, this is their first time seeing it, and there's probably people who are skeptics and don't want anything to do with it. So I have to give them the best match, the most hard-hitting match, the most like well put together psychology-wise match that they're gonna see on this show, so that they'll be like, well, I know some of those matches were bullshit, but like that one, that guy, that Castle guy, it was good. Because it says Castle on my butt, so that's why they would know. But
nice writings on the tush.
Writings right on the tush.
Right on the tush.
So I go in my comedy. I go, I want to be as much like a comedian as possible. So if I talk about wrestling too much, these people who aren't wrestling fans and don't know anything about it, it'll be too specific, too niche.
They'll tune right the fuck out.
Yeah.
What's interesting though, but like, and that's why that wrestling comedy show, like, it's fun if you can get those kinds of shows going, because then you could do weirdo material. And like, I'm kind of used to that. I actually did comedy and MC work for a Doctor Who convention for 4 years, and it was on the basis of like the guy I knew that was booking the entertainment for that knew me and was like, can you do like a 30-minute stand-up set with a lot of Doctor Who jokes in it. And I'm like, it's 50 years of source material. I can certainly try. All of this is going to be completely untested at mics, and we're just going to have to see how the fucking goes.
Right. Well, I mean, I'm really close friends with Noah Houlihan. Do you know Noah?
Oh yeah, no, I've known Noah's booked me on stuff for years.
Okay, yeah. Noah is a really good friend of mine.
Lovely. Yeah, no, I work with him. He wants to. Scott Halliday has challenged Cat already, so that will happen at some point.
So Noah's taken me to some conventions that he's performed at. So I've seen the very specific. The very
nerdcore comedy is a whole thing. They have
so good. He's so good at it. He knows He's like I've seen him like talk to other comedians about it. He's like, oh, if you're talking about like jerking off, these kids are like 16. They're ashamed of jerking off. So don't maybe just try to stay away from that. Like a lot of the he's like in the mind of the fans.
No, he gets it. I've gotten in trouble for cursing on his podcast before, and I feel really bad about God. There was one episode of Plus Two where I was like way too high to be there, and I was not. I kept fucking up every 5 seconds. I feel so bad about that day, but he seems to not hate. So he challenged. Well, I don't know, challenging Drunk Dead Cat.
Well, that might be. Dude, I love resources on things. So the fact that like Katie tagged me in a post that you posted, and I met Katie at Noah's Plus 2 comedy.
Yep, because she probably did the fan fiction thing, right?
Yeah, at his podcast. That's where I met her years ago. So this
when it was at Jester's?
Yeah, it was like in a comic book store.
Yeah, Jester's something. But yeah, I did that twice. I did a fan fiction competition there once, and then I did the actual podcast taping once.
So that's how she knows you, and that's how she knows me.
Well,
so
I don't know if I haven't really been in touch with her until like wrestling Twitter. I maybe like it was just ships passing into the night, but I met Katie through wrestling Twitter.
But very, very, very much the full circle of the resources, that connect things. Like some of the people that we know, there's some mutual people that we know that we don't know that we know the same people in a lot of ways. Fascinates me on how you met this person and how I met I look at that as ways to go like, how can I connect every single thing I do in a full circle? Where I go like,
it's fucking wild.
This guy acts in movies. Oh, you know, that guy who's acting in movies is also got a podcast. Whoa, we should listen to his podcast. Did you know he's a wrestler? Let's check out his wrestling matches. Oh, he does. Oh, he's a wrestler who also does stand-up comedy. Well, then stand-up comedy, and then it goes all. I hope it all serves. Hope that it all serves everything else.
Right around 7 o'clock, you have to flip your wrist.
Yeah, right. Yeah, because I'm not as elastic as I once was, or as elastic as anyone else has ever been.
Yeah. No, you haven't like broken your full rotator cuff recently. What the fuck's wrong with you? You know to
live. you haven't lived unless you've broken your wrist really hard.
Yeah, for a bit.
That's real commitment. That's such commitment.
You have to commit to the bit. It's important. Yeah, but nerdcore comedies don't like most of the first places to give me entire hour sets were like, because I was a convention rat and worked in the comic book industry. I worked for Top Cow Comics for a while. And I started doing that when I was like 17. And at some point they found out I was doing stand-up programming people, and they're just like, well, you want to do like an hour in panel room B? Like, we have time. And people seem to like you because they've been seeing you crash in random Marriott floors for however many years. Like, you're a liked person in this group. So that's how I did hour-long sets at steampunk conventions. It was bizarre.
Would you forgive me if I walked away to go pee real quick?
Oh yeah, totally.
All right.
I forgive urine all the time.
We'll fill in this time with whatever you feel like talking about.
Okay.
Or, you know, if you want to Google the lyrics to a 90s pop song, go for it.
I could do something like that.
Be right back.
I might just riff. I don't know. All right. So, Corey has gone to the bathroom, which means that I don't really have much to do except possibly grab items from my room and point at them and explain them. We've already brought on the chief. This is from Star Runner. Another item. I have more stuffed animals because as I previously stated, am a giant child with a substance abuse problem. This is Chester. Chester I've had since fifth grade. He is an aardvark, and even when I was young, I still felt as though I needed to pick irreverent things to be special and interesting. So I doubled down and got this aardvark. But honestly, from a child's perspective, this is pretty cool because you can like spoon it. It's off to me. Like teddy bears, it's a whole mess. Like when you even do, like it's just like right here. Do you like hold it here? Do you put it on your arm? Like what do you know? This is this animal, underrated as a security stuffed animal, has an ergonomic design. You just go like right there. It's great, and it gives you all the practice you need to eventually be a big spoon, which is actually a pretty useful skill set in dating. Even if you're a woman, men are starting to let people big spoon them more lately because they've decided, yes, that I do feel secure and safe, and when I do this, and I feel confident enough in my masculinity that I can allow myself to be vulnerable in this way. And we all know that, like, if you're a big spoon, it is just rough on your arms and your ligaments and your tendons and everything. Your shit falls asleep, but you still want to be a good partner, right? So you just kind of soldier through it. They do have some products online, there's actually I've seen a cuddle mattress that has like an incest. Oh, and Corey's back. Hi, Corey. How's it going? Hi. I'm so excited for you to hear that.
Okay, well,
yeah.
I'll check it out. So, do you also podcast?
I am a co-host on WrestleSplania, which has had their production schedule kind of messed up by the pandemic. But in season 2 of that podcast was originally Rachel Millman and Kat Barbadoro, and it was started as Rachel's a new wrestling fan, and Kat was going episode by episode explaining different wrestlers to her, and then it morphed into an interview podcast. And then Kat, who's an amazing stand-up comedian, moved on to bigger and better projects. She is one of the luckiest people in the world. Got to open for Patton Oswalt and then walk across the street in Baltimore and go to Full Gear. How cool is that? And she was on the floor level and got to pat Moxley on the back. How do you live after that? That's the best day.
That's rad. That's so rad.
She's so cool. Yeah, no, Kat's fucking awesome. She did Comedy is Liberty. The Comedy is Liberty with Gritty had just dropped. Yeah. Wow. But then, Kat moved on to bigger and better projects, and Rachel basically hired like a dais of other co-hosts that kind of rotate. And I was on a couple episodes. I did the interview with Worldwide, who was at AIW at the time. Alex Keller, he's also a punk singer. So I have that, and then I have a project dropping on Nuclear Order podcast network soon called Kate's Bunker, which is, are you familiar with Welcome to Night Vale at all?
I've heard of it. I don't.
Welcome to Night Vale is a fictional radio broadcast podcast.
Yeah, when they're like they do like a whole lot of like announcery things, and
they do. They basically the story of Night Vale. It's a serialized story podcast, and
I was
it's
going to
done
say it's
in
very
the form.
serial type.
It's serialized. It has characters, and it's done in the form of a local radio host in a small town that's possessed by demons and all kinds of other Lovecraftian horror shit. I've always wanted to do like a fake podcast like that, and then the Nuclear Order contacted me and said that they were interested, and also just my friend Felicia was saying they were interested in me doing a project on there. They were trying to expand the programming. I had this idea for a fake conspiracy theory podcast that was like pre-written. All of the beefs all the conspiracy theories are not real. All the beefs they have with like other podcast hosts and shit like that, and all their personal lives and all that shit's pre-written, not real, just straight satire. And it's just an insane person. The character is Kate, and she has gone completely off the rails, like politically, and is living in a bunker, and she's going through a messy divorce. My ex-wife's going to be Chanel Ali. She's going through an insanely messy divorce, and also like trying to start this conspiracy theory podcast, but like getting like fucking off topic and being a bad podcaster. So some insane person agreed to fucking produce and edit this, which is just me coughing up like 20-page scripts like, yo, no, we're going to do this bullshit because you said yes when I pitched. And we're going to start recording relatively soon, but I don't have a drop date yet.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very cool. You know what's super cool is like having, once again, let me tell you how it's really cool that we now have each other as a resource, and I want to offer to you, if you ever need anything, if you need to, even if you just need a friend, you need to talk, let me be that resource for you. Like it's been so cool hanging with you. What I like about this podcast and the fact that it's not like scripted or anything, which I mean,
most podcasts are not supposed to be scripted. Right. I'm doing something unbelievably high bandwidth for no reason.
It's a very tall task. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's also just kind of a tantrum. Like I'm like, we have a fake Joe Hogan that's on there. It's just like I'm being a dick. But continue.
But I had a fun idea for a podcast. Mm-hmm. But it's something that I think I don't really want to invest too much time in it if it's like gonna just fall away. Mm-hmm. But you know Zach Amico?
Yeah, we're friends. We've been friends for a long time.
Okay, he has the midnight spook show thing.
Yeah, I've been a guest. Yeah,
same. Yeah, mm-hmm. so I kind of want to do the idea of the watch along gimmick, mm-hmm. but not stealing it from Zach. But I'm saying to do alternate universe commentary. You know, like there's always director's commentary.
Oh yeah, no, I get what you're saying.
But have it be like somebody who's just lying. They were like, oh, they said that somebody else directed this. But they only said that because they were scared.
That's funny. That's like what me and my mom used to do this shit whenever we went to the zoo, where we'd like make up shit that's fake about the animals next to people standing at us. We're just like, oh, what's this thing? Yeah, we've heard that these are called Gibbons monkeys because a professor named Gibbons used to study them living in a hole and eating his own vomit for several months. Oh yeah, and people would nod along. Oh yeah, that's interesting. Like,
what do you should work here at the zoo?
Yeah. You guys zoologists, you Steve Irwin?
So thinking it would be like, oh, see that guy who's an extra right there, that background actor? Like, he's an oversharer. He told everybody the kind of porn that he likes to watch. Nobody asked him to. Like, a bunch of random.
Yeah, it's shit that doesn't make it. Oh, you didn't just like make up like fucking beefs between actors and like.
Right.
Oh man.
I was thinking about doing one and be like, doing a Billy Madison watch along.
Yeah.
And being like, listen, they said it was directed by a lady, but that's like they had to do it, and then like have the guy lying like he really directed it.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's funny as shit. No, you should totally do
that. What other podcasts do you listen to? Anything cool?
I listen to Jessa Reed's Awakening OD podcast, which is some fun, like, weirdo hippie shit that I love. I was listening to Harmontown until it was done. I'm a Radio Lab person. I'm like kind of less on comedy podcasts than a lot. Like usually if I'm listening to a podcast, it's something more serious. Lately, I've been listening to a lot of conspiracy theory podcasts because I need dirt to make fun of. And I gotta tell you, writing, if you do the project that you were talking about, writing fake beefs between people is the funniest shit in the world. Like just making up reasons why people are mad at each other. I have an entire episode of Kate's Bunker that's going to be us feuding with a baseball podcaster for no reason. Like it's just like Steve's like actor playing Toho that's just like mad at him for like gambling related reasons, and then he's just like sending all his fans to attack him. It's the fucking best, definitely. But I don't listen, like, if I listen to podcasts, it's a lot of, like, weirdo hippie shit. I like Dr. Tussle Fun Hour.
So I say this about tons of performers, and you've got to know that it's true. Mm-hmm. We all have like a look at me hole that was caused by some type of damage, some sort of trauma. Mm-hmm. What's your damage?
Ooh, what's my damage? Which one? I have so many.
Well, I'm fine with you sharing as many of them as you'd like.
Man, there's like, so because I don't know, like, are you saying which one's like the formative one? Like, what's your Batman parents getting killed? Is that the specific question?
Sure, yeah. Like, Batman's not at open mics at 1:00 in the morning, though.
No, he's being a responsible citizen and channeling that into community service instead of talking about his dick. That's why Batman is a hero. Okay. All right.
Batman's at an open mic. You ever been fucking a bitch?
Yeah, I'll tell. Yeah, well, Lego Batman would be his stand-up. Batman.
Oh yeah.
Lego Batman is the best Batman. This is just
Will Forte is so hilarious.
Oh yeah, no, it's okay. And
was it Will Arnett? I mean, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it was Will Arnett. Yeah,
I'm sorry, I said it wrong.
That's cool. Yeah, no, like Will. The best thing about Lego Batman is that they managed to create emotional intimacy as a Batman villain, which is the funniest shit. Like, that was this whole problem. Like, that, and then I remember the first time I saw it was at Movie Tavern, and I managed to convince my parents to, like, I was like, no, I promise you'll like Lego Batman, and I was right. But when Killer Croc came in and like plugged something in and he went, I did something! I just lost it and nobody else in the theater got it.
Dude, I've had moments like that in movies too.
Oh my god, yeah.
Do you remember Orange County? Remember that movie?
I saw it once.
It was like
they used that fucking butterfly
Hanks,
song a lot in that, right?
Hanks, yeah. Colin Hanks and
Jack Black, right?
Yeah, and Jack Black. Yeah. Catherine O'Hara played his mom, and just at one point she was playing drunk, and she held up a wine glass, and she's like, "I'd like to propose a toast," and that got me. So I don't know why, but it tickled the hell out of me, and everybody in the theater was like, "This guy,
what the fuck are you laughing at?" Yo, that happened to me when I saw The Ring, when the TV flies in out of nowhere and knocks her into the well. That's hilarious. Sorry. Like, I mean, the rest of that movie was terrifying, like, on first watch in a movie theater, but, like, I really overreacted to a TV flying out of somewhere and knocking a person into a well. That's hilarious. Like, great TV bump. Naomi Watts.
Nice bump. Nice
bump, Naomi.
So let's go back to that question.
Oh yeah, oh my god, am I avoiding talking about my trauma? What is this therapy? No. Man. I mean, I think in general, just I've always been like trying, like using comedy to get people away from me, just because I'm like, so like if you're just like talking about like when I'm like a little kid or whatever, I was like kind of like fucked in the head and I was like on a lot of psych meds super early, like I was put in child therapy super early and shit. So I was always like trying to avoid getting people to talk to me about my actual feelings, because that in my head, because I was like young enough, I was like 7 when I started going to therapy, that I was just like, that's a doctor thing and not a people thing. So I was using funny a lot to kind of push people off.
Clinical comedy in a way. Like it was prescribed funniness.
Yeah, it was like, it was a defense mechanism a lot of the time. It's just because like I needed to be like, because I just, in the 90s, that was when they started kind of crash testing psych meds on children. That was the whole, like, when the Riddle and South Park episode came out and all that, like, all of those things hit at once. And it was because, like, a bunch of pharma companies figured out that parents with neurodivergent children, they could start pushing shit on them. So I was just
you're a cash cow, yeah.
Exactly, exactly. So that was like, I was just one of those kids that was a victim to that. And it made me really want to kind of deflect people a lot, just because it was a thing where I'm just like, oh no, if I'm like too sad all the time, they're going to take me back to the doctor and they have to switch my meds.
Right.
And it was just because they were not, it's the 90s, they didn't really know what they're doing yet, and they're just fucking prescribing
subconscious defense.
Yeah, it was, because I just like really needed people to think I was okay. And if I'm just like funny, they leave you alone. Also, I figured out real early, funny people don't get bullied as much. You can be real weird, but if you're funny, they'll want you to be around still. They might not ever want to get close to you, or they might not want to fucking go to prom with you or shit like that, but they really leave you the fuck alone. That continued into high school. Like, I just was like, oh, I'm a Taekwondo student now, I have a black belt. Like, it doesn't matter how fucking weird you are. Nobody wants to fuck with you if you're running around with a black belt. You can be I just like developed immunity because I was funny and I could clearly kick the shit out of whoever. And then, you know,
Did you wear your gi to school?
I think that I would have a couple of times just as a time constraint thing, because I was walking straight from there to the dojang. But Korean, so it's dojang. But yeah. Other than that, not really. I mean, I dressed insane. I was I was pretty textbook weeb, fucking attempting Harajuku and failing visibly, like dressing like a fucking acid clown, and playing DDR nonstop. Shit, like that's where I was at.
I worked at an arcade where DDR.
Did you have a DDR? Which one?
Ultrazone.
Oh my god! So you had the DDR Extreme machine. I used to go.
I never played it. I wasn't good. I've never been good at any games. Also, I wouldn't play it because I'm a sweaty boy.
Yeah. Oh, damn. Yeah. Well, yeah. We would bring fucking towels. DDR nerd, Philly DDR nerd subculture was a whole thing. You went to Ultrazone, Brunswick Zone, Neshaminy Mall. Those were your spot. Those were who had the DDR machines.
I worked at Ultrazone. Ultrazone from when I was 16 to when I was like 24.
Oh my god. Yeah.
It was so ingrained.
I haven't thought about Ultrazone. God knows how long.
It's so ingrained into me. It's like my
Although,
sister.
wait, hold on. I might be getting shit mixed up. Ultrazone's laser tag one, so they might have had Pump It Up and not Deep. This is how much of a fucking nerd I am.
You're fact checking yourself.
No, I was like, no, seriously, did you guys have the one with the 9 buttons, or did you have the 4 buttons? Because that's actually Pump It Up.
I don't know. But
you can look on DDR Freak, they probably still have it.
Oh man, people are gonna give you so much grief for saying it wrong. People are gonna be like, I was at that Ultrazone, they had the Pump It Up version. This bitch out here spreading bullshit.
I'm so fucking self-aware of how stupid we were, but to be in our defense of the gamer nerds at the time, we were the healthiest because we were just running in place for fun for God knows how long a day at Neshaminy Mall and just squatting around and taking turns doing that on the
I love the nerds who would come in. I'm not shitting on nerds for sure. No, I'm one of them, but I would love the nerds.
DDR nerds are nerds. Like, don't worry about it.
Like they would come in and play DDR for tons of time, but then also bring with them their own air hockey shit, and then just like have their fingerless gloves on and just play air hockey, and then jump onto DDR, air hockey, DDR. And no, that's all we did is we just tucker ourselves out and fucking go home and watch anime we ripped from LimeWire. That was those were much fucking simpler times. Are we the same age? How old are you?
I'm 33.
Okay, yeah, you're a little younger than I am, but for sure it lines up. I bet.
Yeah, and no, I definitely played. I remember Ultrazone is the indoor laser tag one that's like been Street Road, Salem.
It's on Neshaminy Boulevard.
Neshaminy, yeah, okay. I know I went there at summer camps and shit too. So like, but it was the one that was like kind of like Halo on the inside, right? It was, like, the cool one. Yeah. It was the good because I remember Ultrazone being the good laser tag, and then Brunswick Zone was the shitty one.
The imitation.
Yeah, but Brunswick Zone had the real DVR machine in Ultrazone. Now I'm remembering. This is just taking old, irrelevant arcade bullshit.
But I worked at Ultrazone, and then later on I worked at Jillian's, and Jillian's also had a DDR game.
God, I haven't heard that name in years. I haven't heard that name Jillian's. Like, it just gave me
Jillian's.
Jillian's. You just gave me like fucking. That was fucking Franklin Mills or something. Franklin Mills had one. Yeah. Holy fuck. Yeah, I just.
But
got
I
so
had that song that was. Was it an Offspring song? It was like, "You're in your eyes when you're staring at the sun."
Oh yeah.
That song all the time. It was always stuck in my head every day of work for ever.
Oh my god. Yeah. But no, Ultrazone's fun, man. I always liked that the trick was that you had to, because the green and the yellow light vests look the same, so you just had to be red, like, because otherwise you couldn't fuck up. Like,
my little sister, who is now 26, she is the manager at Ultrazone. She's been there for like 10 years, and they changed the color. Green isn't green anymore; it's blue.
Oh my god!
So now. When she's
people like, don't fuck up all the time.
She was like, somebody puked in Blue Base, and I'm like, that doesn't exist. I don't know what you're in.
You want to talk about overly specific references? I'm like, yeah, the green and the fucking yellow lights on the Ultrazone vest. God, they always look exactly the same. I was fucked up every time I was red.
But like the arena,
those sniper towers were fun as shit.
I was so aware of every part of it. Like I knew I would climb on everything while games were going on. I would know all the best spots to go and do. Like, I bet you I was probably working at some of the times you were ever there.
I'm sure.
But I had
a lot of summer camp trips, and then there's just like random shit. But that's like birthday parties and summer camp shit. Like. Yeah, because I was in that area. I lived on Mechanicsville Road from age like fucking 3 to 7 or something before I moved to Abington.
Off nights?
Yeah.
All right. Now it's all making sense.
Making sense.
We lived on nights right across from Jillian's. We lived on nights like in those homes.
Oh, man.
Like.
Yeah.
When I was
such a weird lost era of my life. Like, I wasn't there super long. I was born in Trenton, and I lived in Trenton until like I was 3 years old, and then like 3 to 7 we were in Ben Salem, and then we were in Abington and Linden.
Like lots of moving around. Yes, it sounds very similar to my life. What you had both your parents?
Yep.
Yeah, I heard you say parents with an S.
Parents, yeah, no, they're together. It's a miracle. They're musicians, and they've been together for like 30 years. It almost never happens.
Wow, such a miracle.
Yeah, they met in music school in the 70s, and now they are just retired and playing a bunch of hippie music. It's cute. It's so cute.
What kind of stuff like inspired you? Like, what kind of person did you look at and go, I could be that. I could do that. I could.
Oh, like Eddie Izzard and Dylan Moran. Or Morin. I've been pronouncing his name wrong for a long time. But yeah, weird shit like that. My parents had me watching Monty Python and like fucking Mel Brooks shit like super early. Like they're 70s free. I got into audio comedies. My dad used to play Frank Zappa in Fireside Theater for me. And I've always wanted to do, like, I don't drop Fireside Theater as a reference. I try Night Vale and then give up when I'm talking about the Case Bunker project. Like, I just either explain the pitch, drop Night Vale, but don't bring up Fireside Theater because that's 70s final shit. But that kind of shit, it's like old time radio and like weird bullshit that my dad used to feed me all the time as a kid definitely contributed. And then it's just like a lot of British comedy. I think I already said Monty Python, but yeah,
Do you ever sit around and think about how like nobody else has your story?
Yes. I mean, I just know that. Yeah, no, I have like a insane origin story, and it goes back like my fucking like generation back. Like my grandparents and shit were weird too. Like I'm pretty purebred black sheep on a lot of levels. Like,
well,
Both of my sets of grandparents were interfaith married. Like, I'm not kidding. Like,
oh yeah.
They're fucking cut off. Yeah, no. Both of my grandparents were one Christian person, one Jewish person. And,
and
like,
they got like excommunicated.
Yeah, or just like like cut
shunned
off from their families. Mm-hmm. Like, my one grandmother, she was Irish Catholic. She was engaged to a guy that was in World War II. She married a German Jewish immigrant. And wrote a Dear John letter and broke it off with him, and had all these babies cut off from her. Her whole family was Irish Catholic Cops in Trenton. So they were just not about that life. And then as an adult, it's just I want to talk about how like crazy my backstory is. As an
jump
adult,
into your 23andMe. Do you ever go?
Oh yeah. No, you have no idea how 23andMe I'm about to get right now. My mom got this Facebook message from someone that was like claiming to be our grandmother's like given up child, and we were like, that sounds insane. But then my mom goes, hold on, I have a weird feeling about this. So she did the math, and she went back to actual physical photo albums and realized there were 9 months of pictures fucking missing. And we go, oh my God. So Nanny had already passed away, so she had one surviving friend. So we went and talked to her, just like, okay, Norma, did Mary have a secret baby? And she goes, oh, she made me promise to never tell anyone. So she had gotten sent to a convent, the whole shebang, and now we have a family in Delaware, out of nowhere. Like,
Auntie!
Yeah, it was fucking crazy. Yeah, no, we have, and they're cool as shit, but we just have this fucking Sicilian family in Delaware that just fucking popped up because they did some crazy shit with newspaper clippings and found us.
I was just listening to
like,
Rage Against the Machine today, and and that just made me think of it when it was like, they don't have to burn the pages, they just remove them.
Yeah.
That's what they do with the photo.
Yeah, so that is what happened.
So I have just like a couple more things, and then I'll send you off with a hot dog and a handshake.
Oh yeah.
Right off into the sunset.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What I always ask you is before I get into this question part, I just want to say how great this has been, how fun this has been, and how much I appreciate.
Yeah, I'm having a great time.
How much I appreciate you.
Yeah, almost forgot this was a podcast. I'm not. No, that's a big thing to say. But almost, no, it was a great hang.
Almost forgot.
That's a dick thing to say.
I didn't almost forget. I totally forgot. I thought we were just hanging out. No, but how awesome it is that you decided to spend some of this time with me, and important as it is when I was talking to you about the resources and stuff being on the record, I just want to make sure I say to you on the record, because at one point this stuff is outliving both of us. Mm-hmm. So maybe at one point I won't be around to hear me say this, and you can come back and hear it and be like, oh, this is the beginning. This is when Corey and I had our first cool long hang, which hopefully, this is just the beginning.
Yeah, that wasn't just not the hour of wrestling talk prior to
right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I want to be able to tell you how great this is, and I'm looking forward to us being resources in each other's lives.
Hell yeah. And
if you ever want to like sit down and do like a joke writing session or any of that, we can totally jump on here and do it again. Happy to do it off the record. I mean,
yeah, definitely off there. I don't know how much good listening that would be.
Right. But, that would not be good content for people.
No, it probably wouldn't be good content. But yeah, no, totally. Yeah.
But like I always said it, when I first started this podcast, I was only like an episode or two in, and my mom told me this story about how she had burnt these she burnt these voicemails that she had left on her phone from her mom and from her best friend, and they had passed, and she was like, you know how like when somebody passes away, you don't remember what their voice sounds like anymore, so I'd like to go back and listen to those and just remember what their voices sound like. And I automatically was like, I don't ever want that. I don't ever want anyone to forget what my voice sounds like, and I don't want people to forget the people who I am fascinated by. So you're now on the record.
Hell yeah.
And that's what this to me is. This is a little timestamp which, you know, I started this podcast when I was 33. I'm 37 now. So I'm like, I'm going to keep acquiring these fascinating conversations with people and let them know on the record how important it is that they decided to share some time with me. So thank you. And I want to give you the opportunity to ask me anything you want to ask me.
AMA.
AMA.
AMA. All right.
You might think it'd be neat for this is you know, our timestamp on our first
hang. Oh yeah, we'll see. I don't know. You can't predict the future, or you can, but it's up in the air. I don't know. Something. I probably never had a thought to finish, but it would be fun if we pretended I didn't.
The thing that I'll say is, like I said, how this is the timestamp. Mm-hmm. I want to give you the opportunity for, let's say, 2041. Someone stumbles across this audio. Somebody who cares about you. You know, your best friend, your parents, your kids, if that happens one day. Mm-hmm. So they come across this, and they want to get like a little message that comes right from 2021, and they're listening to it right now. This is what I'm calling audio time travel. So your message right directly to the people who love you in 2041.
She died doing what she loved, taking a joke too far.
Far too far. F-A-R-T. Fart.
For those of you listening, I just took a gulp of beer for the exact length of time it took for me to stop talking and start speaking. Thank you.
Stop talking and start speaking. So stop doing the thing you're doing.
That's gonna be my fucking year.
Well, thanks for sharing that.
Oh my god, yeah, no, that's definitely going to be the title of my interview podcast, is Stop Talking and Start Speaking.
Stop Stop swimming and start paddling.
Yep.
So,
oh Jesus, yeah.
What I do to wrap up every episode is I usually say, hypothetically, I've gifted you this podcast. So this has been your pilot episode of Evolving with Hannah Harkness. And in a very Jerry Springer's final thought type of way, I'm going to wrap this whole conversation up in a pretty little bow and tell people how they can, or not tell people, but advise people on how they could be a better version of themselves tomorrow as they are today.
That'd be a better version.
And then just to keep it silly, do your best Alf impression and say, "Hey, Willie."
Mm-hmm. I don't know. Find one thing a day that you are definitely lying to yourself about. It might be incredibly painful, but it's these lies that make it hard to look in the mirror at the end of the night. So you'll sleep a little bit better every day. I don't know what you want me to say.
Why didn't you open with that? That's the deepest shit ever.
You know, because at the end of the day, all you're trying to do is sleep, right? Now, can you sleep when you're just lying to yourself? Oh my god.
Sincerity is not lost on you.
No. Was I supposed to say some shit about Alf?
Yeah, do your best Alf impression. And say, "Hey, Willie."
I'm a puppet. I don't have anyone to animate me right now. I'm in the corner. Hey, Willie. That was it.
See this hand?
Yeah. I just did backstage Alf because I don't remember how to
backstage Alf.
Backstage Alf.
I had recently watched like the second episode of Alf, And it was like I did it on here with my friend Renee, and we were so freaked out by the fact that every time it showed Alf, like when he was running away, it was like it was just a little person with like a Alf head. It just looked like a dead head hanging off the side of his head. I was like, oh, that's just traumatizing. I wouldn't even.
Dude, did one time Joe Murdoch came up at Comedy is Liberty and just went on a rant about how when Alf was on TV, the episodes were one length, but when they were on the DVD set, it was a shorter length, and then there's like all these hundreds of missing minutes of Alf, and he sounded genuinely upset. It was pretty awesome.
Give me back my scenes!
Again, Comedy is Liberty was the best Mike that ever lived. Nobody, he never would have done that somewhere else.
What a hill to die on, really.
Yeah.
We've definitely got to do this again, for sure.
For sure.
And if we can do it, something where we're like doing comedy together somewhere, let's absolutely be resources to each other.
Doing stand-up event. Yeah, for sure.
Or like the wrestling stuff, like for sure. Let me know when you start going to that place in the Bronx. I'll come up.
I'm actually going to start at Technique 2 training in Williamsburg. We were just like kind of before the pandemic, we were fucking around up there, but there's an MMA gym now where all of my friends go. So now that I'm vaccinated, once I'm back from, I'm going to be in Philly for a couple of weeks and then just see my parents now that I'm vaccinated. And then when I come back, I start wrestling school.
All right. Well,
yeah.
I'm about to get vaccinated myself. So once I get all the way done,
come up to Williamsburg,
and I'll come up to Williamsburg and I'll get in the ring and I'll show you some stuff because I may have a little bit of expertise. I don't know.
Fuck yeah, and MB also teaches at that school.
Okay,
too.
good,
Like,
cool,
yeah,
cool.
A lot of people come through, but yeah, it's really fucking cool. Yeah,
cool, awesome. Well, any last things you wanna put out there? Like,
I've been talking about my projects, but I'm at Hark_it's Hannah on Twitter and Instagram, and Kate's Bunker is going to be dropping on Nuclear Order podcast within the next, or Nuclear Order podcast network in the next couple of months, and then Brooklyn Battle Comedy, we make movies. Our Indigo campaign's going up soon, but it's at brooklynbattlecomedy.com, and it should be dropping on IWTV in June.
Are you happy?
I am so happy. I have no idea how my writing career took out during a period of lethal disease, but we're just going to roll with it.
I'm happy for you. I'll continue to have your back.
All
be
right.
on team.
Hell yeah.
Be fun.
Likewise. High five, guy.
Be fun. Have safe. Keep evolving.
I will.